Please welcome James Freeman, founder and CEO of Blue Bottle Coffee, with Michael Landau and Alli Webb, the brother and sister team behind Drybar, and Fast Company editor-at-large Jeff Chu.
So when I was first asked to do this conversation, I did have a thought, which was, how the hell am I going to talk about coffee and hair? It's an interesting combination, but I'm delighted to be up here with Alli, Michael, and James to talk about cult brands. And I want to start with a definitional question. What is a cult brand? You know, we hear the word cult, and I think of David Koresh in Waco, Texas, and Jamestown. And that's not a good thing, but apparently in branding, it's good to have a cult. So how do you feel about that term, and what does it mean to you? James?
I feel, I call it the C word because people use it a lot. And, you know, it's flattering up to a point, but it kind of means that people like you and they don't know why. I think there's that. St. Augustine said about time, he knows exactly what time is until somebody asks him. And so it kind of feels like that. I think cult is, you know, I think about the opposite of cult, and what is that? And that's maybe formulaic or premeditated, and so maybe it means just not that. So I do think if you set out trying to do something to put yourself in a cult position, then you're doomed to failure. So the harder you try to be that thing, the worse the result is going to be.
So Alli, you were a stay-at-home mom, started this business. You didn't have an intention of building this cult following. How do you feel about the word? What does it mean to you?
Well, I don't find it quite as offensive, but...
Well, I don't find it offensive, I find it perplexing, that's all.
You know, and I think that I think when I've thought about brands that I love, and there is this kind of feeling that you just, you know, you want to be in that brand, and you want to, you know, go to that store and buy their product. And I think that for us, building Drybar and people being so excited about our brand and what we do, and now buying our products, I think it's really exciting, and I think that it's just kind of showing your loyalty to a brand, and you know, I think it's an exciting place to be. And I look at other brands that I think of that are cult brands, and they're, you know, and you just want to be a part of it. So I think it's a good thing, that's something that you just want to be a part of, something that you love.
Another buzzword that I think it has a relationship to cult brand is authenticity. And I wanted to talk with you all about that. You know, people talk about brands needing to be authentic, which I think is almost like a slightly more generic cousin of artisanal, another one of those buzzwords. What does that mean to you? You know, I know authenticity is important for both Drybar and for Blue Bottle, but I worry that sometimes we talk about it without knowing what exactly it means.
Yeah, for us, authenticity has been about doing the one thing that we know really well and sticking to it, and being really passionate about it. So for Alli, it was about this passion for hair, and it's something she felt was missing in the marketplace. And the fact that we were able to bring that to consumers, I think that really comes through loud and clear in all of our marketing.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the genesis story for folks who don't know it, so we understand what the roots are?
Well, Drybar came to be because I have naturally curly hair, and there wasn't a place that I could go to get a great blowout at a great price in a really fun, cool space. And that I had a mobile blow dry business. Well, I've been a stylist for about 17 years, but I had a mobile blow dry business that I was operating in LA, and I was running around town blow drying all my friends, and realized that there was this big hole in the market, that instead of me going to them, they should come to me, which is when I went to Michael and begged him to give me the money to start the first location, which he reluctantly did. Thank goodness. But so all we do are blowouts at Drybar, and so we started about 4 years ago, and it's you know, we realized that there was a big hole in the marketplace, and we're doing over 100,000 blowouts a month now, and women love their blowouts. So it's been a really exciting couple of years.
James, do you want to give a little bit of the backstory of Blue Bottle, and then talk about, I know preserving that authenticity has been important.
Yeah, I started Blue Bottle Coffee 12 years ago. I signed a lease on a 186 square foot little potting shed that I started my first roaster and then started selling in farmers markets, primarily because, very similar, I wasn't getting the kind of coffee that I wanted to drink, and I roasted coffee at home, and this idea of coffee as a fresh food was very compelling to me, and I didn't see that around me, and so I wanted to make that thing that I wanted that I couldn't buy. But I think authenticity is it's a funny word, and I do get hung up on funny words sometimes, but it kind of means, I think a lot of people think of it as like, we care about our product more than you. That the product is going to come first, and it comes ahead of our guests, but it's in service of our guests. And as long as you keep a very simple-minded and rigorous focus on your product and improving your product, that could perhaps be called the path of authenticity. It's when you start watering it down, when you start thinking about things that make your product less than more, then that's where it starts to have this stench of inauthenticity, inauthenticity and premeditation.
So really it's about understanding core values. And as you expand, we can buy Blue Bottle products in stores now. We'll be able to go to Tokyo and have Blue Bottle just like in San Francisco or Oakland. What are the values that you are trying to protect?
There's three. I was pressed to come up with a mission statement a few years ago, and I kind of felt like, why do we need a mission statement? That's kind of hokey and unhelpful. It's so much talk and not enough do. And I was going to this meeting where I promised that I would deliver this mission statement, and I was thinking about excuses. Well, I was really busy. I'm sorry I couldn't do it, and practicing my excuses. And then I realized that they're just three words. If we do three words, that's all we have to do. That's all we have to talk about. It's deliciousness, hospitality, and sustainability. Usually in that order, not always, but usually. And if we do those three words are easy for everybody in our staff knows those three words, and that's what we aspire to get better at. Each and every drink we serve, every single time. And so that's all we have to do. If we can do those three things, whether or not we're in Tokyo or Whole Foods, then we will continue to be successful.
How about the core values of Drybar? What are you trying to maintain in all of these stores?
Well, there's a couple of things for us. I think it's certainly the quality of the hair, and the blowouts have to be great. And the customer service is also a huge thing for us. And Michael and I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and we so strongly believe in the client is always right, and the customer service is so important. So for me, when those two things are equal, that's when we're doing our job, and that's when we're having the most success. But I think at the core of what we're doing at Drybar is we're selling blowouts technically, but we're really selling this confidence and this feeling and this happiness that you get from a great blowout. And I think that is really kind of the magic of Drybar, and what makes it great is that it's so much more than just the blowout. It's kind of the experience, and the experience has to do with the customer service and the quality of the hair, but certainly the overall feeling that you get when you're in a Drybar and you just feel great and you walk out feeling like $1 million.
So it's interesting to me that what you're selling is actually not the service of blowing out someone's hair, right? When did you come to that realization? Was that something that you knew all along?
Well, it's funny because I was a big skeptic of this. I didn't understand as a bald guy why women needed to get their hair blown out, wanted to get their hair blown out. It was so foreign to me. And like Alli said, I lent her the money because she's my sister and I loved her, and opened the first store, and we dramatically underestimated the demand, and women were coming through in droves. And I sat up, said my little sister might be onto something. And after we opened our second store, I started observing the hundreds of women that came in every day. There was this huge transformation that happened, and it wasn't just in their appearance, which there was, but it was more, they came in very serious and, just pouty look on their face, and they'd leave with this pep in their step and giggling and laughing, and that's when I really sat up and said that this is a huge opportunity, because we have a kind of internal mantra that we're selling. We're not just selling blows, we're selling the happiness and confidence that comes with it. And that's one of the core values that we share with all of our employees and reinforce over and over.
So I get the confidence, the happiness. Earlier you said to me that kindness is also something that you are in the business of. And what does that actually mean?
Well, for us, I think it's, it's like that surprise and delight that, it feels so good when someone does something unexpectedly nice for you, whether it's, I, paying for your coffee when you forgot all your money, which has happened to me. Or in Drybar, if someone comes in and they're just having a really bad day, and we've had this experience where women have been in our shop and they're dealing with something really traumatic, the death of a loved one or something. They're finally getting out of the house to feel like a person again, but you can just see all this sadness in them. And we've had, we empower the people who work for us to give that woman a free blowout, and then and just because we just want to make her feel better, and it really lightens her day and brightens her day in that minute, and it's just so unexpected. And I think that those random acts of kindness and those little things that you can do here and there to really surprise people, it just goes such a long way. I mean, it's just a nice thing to do, and it's just good to be a good human, but it does help. It does make people feel better.
We actually have an employee whose title is Director of Just Cause. And out of our 2,200 employees and millions of clients, her job every day is to find opportunities to, whether it's an employee who did something great or got a great Yelp review, or someone who tweeted, or just, she's looking for opportunities to do just cause, and she sends them gifts or letters from Alli and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
because we do that for our employees too. We want to recognize them when we hear that. We get reviews back all the time from our clients, and so many of them are so great, and we want them to know that we're reading them, we're paying attention. So we will, we'll send a note and send them like, a gift card somewhere, just something a little unexpected, and it goes such a long way, and it just feels good. And it's not about the monetary value; it's just more about the recognition.
James, Mr. Philosopher, what's the emotional and psychological profile of Blue Bottle?
I use the word surprise and delight a lot too. I think that's interesting that you picked up on that. I think people they feel a little different in our spaces because of what they don't see and what they don't have more than what they do. Our menus kind of stripped down, and our shops are kind of stripped down. And so I like that, creating just an empty space that people can feel like not as cluttered in if they walk up to a cash register and there's CDs and there's mints and there's like all this stuff. I think that's the sort of the visual equivalent of an iPhone that keeps buzzing in your back pocket. So I want to create the sort of a more spare experience so people can project whatever they want onto it. So there's that, but there's also the first and foremost, we are in service of this delicious product, and people are vulnerable. Sometimes people haven't had their coffee, and they're lining up in our cafe. That's a vulnerable time in somebody's life. I know it's vulnerable for me, and so you want to treat them like they're precious, like that this is we're sorry that you had to wait a little bit, but we're going to give you something that's extra good. It's as good as we can possibly make it, and we want to treat people with that kind of care and respect. Because there's a headache around the corner if you don't get your coffee at a certain time.
So both of your companies are growing pretty fast, expanding into new markets, considering whether to venture into offering different services. Can you talk a little bit about the challenge of growth as you're considering whether you should be trying something new, and when to say no?
Take that one?
Well, it has been a huge challenge for us to. We've went very quickly from one location to 40, and to maintain that quality that we care so deeply about, Alli and I, as you grow and as you hire so many people, has been a real challenge. And frankly, the biggest challenge that we have is how to maintain that quality control, and we struggle with it. I think it's a matter of letting go, because you have to scale the business, and that's been hard for us, but at the same time figuring out the right, best and highest use for us, to make sure that quality stays the same and the culture stays the same, and we're still figuring it out, but I think it's hiring the right people, and it's knowing when to say no and when to get involved and when not to.
So what are some of the things you've said no to?
we'll never do makeup in Drybar, or we'll never do lashes. You know, I think for us, when you mentioned expanding services, it's like we feel so strongly about being really good at one thing and sticking to that. And it, people underestimate how hard it is to give a great blowout. It's really challenging. And for us, I feel like focusing all of our energy and our time and resources on the training and making sure that the blowouts are great it's hard enough that we don't need to, we just don't want to try to be everything to everybody. We want to do what we do and do it really well. So although I understand, the convenient of maybe getting a manicure or getting something else done while you're sitting in Drybar, I think for us to be the best we can be, it's important that we stick to what we know. And speaking of authenticity, I know hair, and I can talk to you all day long about hair and why some styles work and things don't. But if someone does your makeup and they mess it up, I can't really help you. So that kind of takes away from the authenticity.
What Alli's referring to, we've been fortunate. We've raised over $50 million. We've got some great investors, and the first thing they always say, without exception, every single one of them has been, once they look at the numbers and how many people are coming through, it's like you should sell this, or you should offer this service, or you should offer that. And we feel like it is the one real sacred cow for us. I joke that we're kind of the In-N-Out burger of blowouts, but I'm sure In-N-Out burger could sell a lot of chicken sandwiches, but they stick to what they know, and
Yep.
we make plenty of money from blowouts, so we're going to stick to that.
How about for you, James? I know that there are always going to be temptations. People are going to dangle offers in front of you when you have a successful brand.
Yeah, no is powerful. No can, get you off the hook a lot. Just focusing on what you're good at is so important. And then there's all these distractions. Some of them are very shining and tempting. But to focus on what we can do. And for me, there is no maintain, where our coffee is either getting better or it's getting worse. And so I have to make it very explicit that our mission is to make our coffee better as we grow. And that's a way for me to tolerate growth. If we can grow a lot and have our coffee get better every single year, that's amazing. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to be sitting here in a couple of years, oh man, remember the coffee we had in 2014? Oh, I miss those days. That's a bad way to live. So for us, it's the investments that we've received need to be tasted before they're seen. And so this last year has been a lot of work on the green side and the roastery side, and now we're ready to debut some of this work and some of these systems that will hopefully continue to engineer quality improvements.
So what are the shiny objects you've had to say no to?
Well, different products in the stores, doing...
No makeup at your store either,
No
right?
makeup in our stores either. Just a lot, the mistake that I've made recently there, I won't say who, but there's a very, very glamorous retailer in Manhattan that wanted a blue bottle presence, and I was so blinded by the beauty of their store and there was a ladle in their store, and it was $300 ladle, and it was such a beautiful ladle. I've never seen a ladle that beautiful, and I kind of got blinded by that, and it's like, yes, we will sell coffee amongst your beautiful ladles, and we did, and it was total crickets because, they don't need that many people to buy very expensive things, and we're selling things that cost less than $5. And so, that for me, that was a distraction that I should have said no to, that I apologize to our team for not saying no to, that I eventually wised up and said no to. So there's all kinds of partnerships and opportunities and things that people put in front of you that, that it's important to make our coffee better and to sell coffee, and those other things can be a distraction regardless of the beauty or temptation.
Can I ask you about a different pain point? So you start out with one coffee shop, you had your mobile blow dry service. When you go into one of your new shops, is it hard for you to let go, overlook the minor details? Do you start wiping down counters?
Yes. You will find me in many Drybars scrubbing the floorboards, although I'm trying to stop doing that because, to your point, we've hired a lot of great people to help us run these stores and to do their job, but it's so hard. I'm sure you feel the same way when you walk in a store And I don't think that everybody else sees all the things that I see because I'm so meticulous about it. But I will walk in the stores and be like, see a million, not a million, but a couple different things that really get to me. Like, why isn't this like this, and why isn't this like this? But the good news is it's usually like that because the shop is so busy and there's just a million different things going on. It's kind of controlled chaos in one of our shops, but it is a pain point. It is hard to, you just want everything to be perfect all the time. And I always feel like I want everybody who walks in Drybar to feel like that, when they've walked in for the first time, it's like we just opened the store and everything is shiny and clean and pretty. So it's hard and it's a challenge to keep it at that level.
It is. There's, the blue bottle that exists in my head, and then there's the actual physical place that I walk into, and most of the time those two places are very different, and I have to realize that mostly I'm existing in the blue bottle that's in my head, and I also have to realize that when I go in there, sometimes I just want an espresso, and it's fine if it's not perfect. But when I go in there, it's also a performance. The staff see me, and I have to be a good example, even sometimes if I don't want to be. So I'll take notes. I'll observe and take notes, and then try to fix things after. If I try to fix things at the moment that I see them, that sows the seeds for chaos and uncertainty, I think. And it's a little bit like there's a cougar in the mountains, and the horses can sense it, and they get uneasy. So if every time I walked into a store, people didn't know what the most horrible thing I was about to do was, that would make a very uncomfortable experience for our staff in the shops, and then hence for our guests in the shops. So I try to, if I see something that is not horrible, that's just not perfect, then I'll just try to write it down and try to fix it after the fact. It's hard, though. It takes restraint.
Someone please tweet that James Freeman declared himself to be a cougar on stage.
Well, or you could say mountain lion, actually. Please revise that Twitter post.
A somewhat frivolous question before I ask my last one. Alli and Michael, I've been curious, what percentage of your clients are men?
It's a very small percentage, although in West Hollywood is probably where we get the most men. It's a really small amount. But the men will often come in with their wives or girlfriends, and sometimes we'll give them a floater, which I was explaining to you is a scalp massage, a 10-minute scalp massage, which the ladies get a lot, but it's something that men can do too.
Actually, Dustin Hoffman comes into our Brentwood shop quite often to get a scalp massage, so it's nice.
So a floater is Drybar's redefinition of the word floater.
Well, but you have to, if you aren't familiar with Drybar, everything is in this bar theme. So all of our hairstyles are named after cocktails, and everything is in the kind of bar vernacular. So that's why it's called a floater.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah. I am 5 years old. Each of you, I'd like to ask you one last thing. As you grow, as you expand, as you take your brands to new people and new markets, what do you fear? What are you most afraid of?
I'm always afraid nobody will come. And, and I feel like we've opened 37 locations, and we've had, we're packed every day on opening day, which I'm so grateful for. But it's still, I still get those butterflies in my stomach the night before we open a store. And I'm, and just wondering if people still like us and are still going to come, and so far so good. They keep coming and showing up, but it's it's always scary when you're going into a new market and opening a new store, but so far so good.
For me, it is the quality. As we grow, how we make sure that we were so passionate about this when we started, and we still are, but we can't be everywhere at once. I mean, my wife, Allie's husband, we were in the store until 3 in the morning every night just trying to get ready for the next day, and our passion and enthusiasm for customer service, for everything we were doing was so easily communicated to our employees. Now that we have so many employees in so many states, it's how do we manage to James's point, you worry that we're going to wake up in 2 years and it's going to be mediocre, and it's just not going to have that same excitement that got us to where we are so far.
James, the last word.
Yeah, I worry about sliding into irrelevance. It's like pretty much every day, every drink, every hour is a referendum on my personality. Sometimes it feels like, and I want people to be happy with this kind of weird thing that I started and am continuing.
So you can fill out your ballot papers now in the referendum on James Freeman. But if you don't feel like doing that, join me in thanking James, Alli, and Michael for their insights.
Thank you.